Welcome to lesson 99, the Pythagorean Theorem. Our objective is I can use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the unknown side of a triangle. So, as we know, the longest side of a right triangle is called the hypotenuse. So, if I were to name the three sides, I would say that this triangle has a hypotenuse, which is the longest side, and then I call the other two sides legs. Okay, so right triangles have some cool properties. They have some cool properties. If I take this triangle with sides of 3, 4, and 5, where 5 is the hypotenuse, and I break up the sides into squares. So what I mean is I'm going to make a square coming off of each side that is the exact length of that side. So here we go. Boom. I'm going to make this. There we go. So let's count how many squares we have. Looks like here on the side that used to have 3, right? This was 3, 4, and 5. This side has 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The side of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And this side of 5 has 25. Okay, there's some pretty interesting properties here. If I take the sides of the two legs, the squares of the two legs, and I add them together, see, that'll be 9 squares plus 16 squares. If I do that, what do I get? Well, I'll get 25. Interesting. So you're telling me if I find the squares of the two legs, that will equal the square of the hypotenuse. Interesting. So that is the Pythagorean theorem. We usually call the hypotenuse C and the legs A and B. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Let's use that to our advantage. Okay, A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We're going to use that to our advantage here. Looks like I'm missing one of the legs. I'm going to call that leg A. So A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Now let's plug in what I know. I have a leg, so I'm going to plug that in for one of the leg spots. Doesn't matter whether I choose A or B. I'm going to choose B. Then it's very important that my hypotenuse is always C. My hypotenuse is always C in this equation. So now let's use that to our advantage. Okay, so 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. And I don't know what a square is, so I'm going to leave it as a square. So now I'm going to solve for a squared by subtracting both sides by 144. When I do that, 169 minus 144 is equal to 25. So I have a squared. A times a is equal to 25. Well, that means that I need to take the square root of both sides. Remember, the square root is the answer to the question, what number multiplied by itself gives me that? So the square root of 25 is the answer to the question, what number times itself equals 25? Which is 5, of course. 5 times 5 is 25. So I can say that A is 5. So we found the missing side using the Pythagorean theorem. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Now that you've tried it on your own, let's do it together. So instead of walking 200 yards from A to B, the 7th grade class takes a shortcut across a field. How long is the shortcut? So this is the hypotenuse. I can tell because it's across from the right angle. And I'm going to call it C. So I have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. I know that a is 100, and I know that b is 100. 100 squared, 100 times 100 is 10,000. So 10,000 plus 10,000 is equal to c squared. That means that 20,000 is equal to c squared. If I take the square root of both sides, that'll cancel out the square with that square root. And the square root of 20,000 is not a very nice number, I will admit. It's not a very nice number. I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. So 141.42. Let's make that 4 a little bit nicer. 42. So let's find the perimeter of a triangle with lengths of length 3 and 4. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to draw a triangle, and it's going to be a right triangle, and I know that the legs are 3 and 4. Okay, so 3 squared plus 4 squared is going to equal the hypotenuse squared. So 9 plus 16 will be equal to c squared. 9 plus 16 is 25, as we saw earlier in the video. So I'll take the square root of both sides, and I'll say that 5 is c. Nice. So I'm not done yet. Now that I know that side, I can find the perimeter. So the perimeter is going to be 3 plus 4, which is 7, plus 5, which is 12. So my perimeter is going to be equal to 12. Go ahead and try this last one on your own. Now that you've tried it on your own, let's do it together. So I want to find the perimeter of a triangle with legs of 6 centimeters and 8 centimeters. So I'm drawing my triangle. Now let's do some of the math. 6 squared plus 8 squared is going to be equal to c squared. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. And I don't know what c squared is. I'm going to add 64 and I'll get 100. Oh, very cool. Let's take the square root of both sides. And I'll get 10 is equal to c. Okay, we're not quite done yet. Now that I know that this side is 10, I need to find the perimeter. So my perimeter is going to be 6 plus 8, which is 14, plus 10, which is 24 centimeters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.